Hey everybody, and welcome to Volume 15 of the Django Fan Club Podcast, the only One Piece podcast that only focuses on Django and nothing else. I am Simeon D. Jimmy, Mumkey D. Jones, joined as always by the Zoro to my Luffy, Eggy Eggman Rodriguez.
Hey guys, what do you think of my Django cosplay today? I don't have a mushroom, except we ain't gonna talk about that, but I've got these nice glasses though. Yes, and just what I suspected in the previous volume, although not knowing for sure it's really implied, but I think that Django's linking up with one of my favorite captains. I really like his drink anyway.
I don't know if they linked up, they kind of were asleep as they passed each other.
A fateful encounter is what the story title, or the cover title I think was. No, I don't think we have enough yet to work with.
The very next one is him arriving to Disco Dance Mirrorball Island or whatever, all alone. But Eggy and I are kind of living in the Grand Line right now because there is legitimately 30-mile-per-hour winds outside of our houses right now. Hopefully you can't hear them, but the show must go on. If we blow away, it is what it is. I do not have a sail on my home, so I should be safe.
We don't have Dory and Broggy to tell us just keep going straight and we're going to duck giant cyclones.
Yeah, even if the giant goldfish does have you inside its body, you'll be fine. Just straight ahead. Do not lose faith in the giants, I think is the idea. And maybe they won't lose faith in us in the future. Eggy, we have some new members of the measly crew. Would you like to give them some designations on the ship that is still unnamed?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got a country that was, relatively unnamed for about, a quarter of a chapter here. So this is the ship where maybe we'll uncover it in the grand discovery today. But all right.
So we should be the drum ship, the going drummy. if we're trying to be the Drum Kingdom here with no name, the Wapol fan ship. Number one Wapol heads. We completely cut out Django and Richie, and we just go straight Wapol all the time.
Well, there was a great hip-hop musician who was taken for his time named Jimmy Wapo. And he had a very unique style, but unfortunately they murdered him they shot him up. It happens, but...
Were we watching UFC and there was somebody named Wapol and I said, hey, Egg, we're going to meet somebody named that in One Piece next week?
Probably. It's
probably somebody with a similar name. But anyway, we've got Schlitter. Latrine duty?
Well, I mean, somebody's got to do it. I think we had, we probably should have more than one cleanup person as the crew expands. But listen, this is they're still our crewmate, but I mean, somebody's got to do it. It's not like we look down on you for being a Janny.
He could also be like a top fighter. Like, what if the Zoro of the crew was also just the janitor? And he just so happens to be one of the strongest fighters in the world, but his spot on the crew is cleaning my shit stains out of the porcelain bowl.
I feel like Schlitter could also be like I'm getting a striker, like.
So he could be like the karate expert.
Yeah. So let's say
the Fishman karate expert. That's a real role.
There we go.
I think so.
All right. We've come to a democratic decision. Welcome Schlitter, the fish striker.
Now, this next one is kind of cheating, Eggy, because you know those Google reward surveys, and you answer a survey, you get like 20 cents. Well, I am
familiar.
I had $7 saved up, and I said, you know who deserves this money? Me. So I bought the $3 subscription to myself to the channel. So would you like to give with a profile picture of my cat Blaze? The name is TM. What should he be doing?
Well, Tangy Meow, welcome. He's got some seasoning on him. He's out there in the salty sea, so he's tangy and he's meow. Because listen, if you read enough manga with cats, they don't really ever give him too much interesting.
He's the leader of the Meow Band Brothers fan club, who for some reason is on our ship. Okay,
we're happy to have him.
And last and certainly not least of these three is Fabianovich. Like Fabian and then Ovich, making a whole new name. Yeah. Fabianovich.
He sounds cultured, like Fabian. He sounds like somebody who's now I'm a little I'm thinking might have had somebody who was like our literacy expert here. I know we had people that were known like studying devil fruits and stuff like that. I feel like he should be in here somewhere. He's if we just have somebody for maybe a cultural expert, because we need people who, when we run up and we run into certain places, they're going to know the environments. Right now, we have in the actual material Nami, she's like, oh, this is the Grand Line. I've heard it as this and as this, and it can have this craziness. But that's geographical. For cultural reasons, when we pull up and we see people standing on a snowbank and aiming guns at us, it might be good to know, oh, they're wearing this style of clothing, that I've heard about this. This means whatever. So Fabian sounds like a cultured man, so I think he's our cultural resource individual. He studies these cultures to give us some information.
Almost like an ambassadorship position where he can help us not get shot to death by the locals.
Like a mediator, like...
Very much a VV position. Maybe he's a princess.
He's the Jimmy Carter of the Going Unnamed.
Yeah, the only suggestion we've had is the Going Chuddy. And I don't know how you feel about that. I thought being a chud was a bad thing, Eggy. Is it something we want to be doing?
We've taken it back, like the N-word. We're using it, and we're embodying it now. So they say it was originally a negative word, but we took it back. We're taking the power from the word.
Well, I don't like it for this. I vetoed immediately. I don't want to be going chuddy. I don't like it.
Well,
'cause we're not underground. Pirates. We're sailing the seas here.
Pirates, they really were liking to have a nice, attractive female symbol, and that's where like the mud flaps on trucker trucks came from. What do you think about Going Wendy, perhaps?
I'm a fan of the food, but I could go without it. Might get scurvy if we eat nothing but Wendy's chili. I think it happened to Wings.
This might be happening to Nami in this volume, perchance.
She might be dying of scurvy herself, or it's yet to be seen. Maybe the witch doctor will tell us next volume. But we got some comments, and let us know in the comments in the future, folks. What should we name our ship? We still don't know. Not the Going Chuddy.
I will say, if we just continue not knowing a name for it, it could be Going Unnamed, could be the name of it, because then it's unnamed. Oh my goodness. I've been through the 7 seas on a ship with no name. All right,
that's true. Right. It seems like a desperate plea from somebody with no creativity, but then you sold me when you connected it to the song. So, but we'll get a name eventually. Here's a comment that I'm bringing in that's a little bit old, but it's from an older episode. He just commented this today, but it's on our longest episode we've done for this show. I think it's 1 hour and 46 minutes, and that's relevant for this comment, Eggy. He says, I'd prefer if you guys spent less time being misogynistic and roasting other creators, and instead spend that time actually reviewing the actual manga. Other than that, great content. What the fuck? To post that on the longest episode, where we almost certainly reviewed every single chapter for 12 full minutes each, you're gonna say, of all the episodes to have extra time to be misogynistic and to roast people, that would be the one. What a weird complaint. We didn't talk about it enough for you? We were there for 2 hours, about 9 chapters. What do you mean instead of spend the time doing something else? We did it all. We did it all.
Well, I'm going to give I'm meeting this person halfway, a measured response here. We were just saying it could have been anybody. It could have been Tangy Meow, and he could have been meowing about the content. But it didn't seem like those people were truly interested in what they were talking about. They were just looking for something to chew up and spit out and move on and say, make sure to like and subscribe. We're really here. I'm becoming more immersed in more of a true One Piece head every passing day with every passing volume.
You say that, Iggy, but I do have a comment.
Uh-oh.
DV says, shout out to Eggy. You can kind of tell he's not feeling One Piece, or maybe Mumkey's enthusiasm just sets an unrealistic standard, but he's still keeping it up for his friend and the fans. We appreciate it. I'm also not feeling it, to be honest. It's just so childish and unrealistic. I might just not like anime books or not relate to the Japanese way of writing. Do you think he might be projecting? To say that about you and then say, also, I don't like it.
Yeah, I'll just say this. I think that he's entitled to his opinion, and the fact that doesn't seem to care much for anime or manga in general, I think that it doesn't make it such a disagreeable take for me, because if he's like, oh well, but I really like, whatever, something else, I really like Yu-Gi-Oh, but One Piece is just ridiculous, I could never understand this One Piece stuff. So then he's got just a blanket sort of distaste.
Filter?
Maybe it might be too strong.
He's like filtering everything through his hatred of One Piece, and maybe he's projecting it onto you as you. I don't know. But continue.
Well,
I interrupted with what I already said before, so continue.
I mean, so that's just how I feel. Is that it's not like he's favoritism in another direction. If it's just not for him, then hey, I think that's just his opinion, and he's entitled to that. And I could also say, yeah, I mean, we're looking at our respective backgrounds here. I think one of us might be a little more of a One Piece head than the other. But I will say this, folks. Oh my goodness, what do I have here? That's right. You might have heard about this. This physical copy of Volume 1 paperback. Do we have any art submissions yet?
Not yet. But I don't know if that episode has been public yet, so.
Well, then somebody might have already won this by the time everybody sees this, so hey, don't worry about that. But in case that it isn't, we did have an art contest.
What is the art contest? Just draw us in One Piece, so I have a new cover photo?
Fresh channel banner, because right now there's a Squid Man up in there, and I ain't talking about Hachi.
Okay, we have some trivia for you, Eggy. Makito says, you should tell Eggy the black guy Zoro fights in the live-action episode 1 is Mr. Seven from Baroque Works. I bet the scriptwriters are Zoro-tards since he was the only one to get an extra fight. Plus, they removed the stairs from his backstory. So yeah, that's in the manga when Zoro's like, oh yeah, you guys invited me to join Baroque Works, but I said fuck off. So they kind of adapt that in episode 1 when he chops that green, or was it a green hair dude? Some black guy gets chopped in half. Did you even remember that scene?
Well, it's probably been 2 months since we watched that, so I'm a little fuzzy on it, I gotta say. But overall, I think we might have talked in the last volume about the third episode of the live action, whatever one that was. That most recent one we watched, which I think might have been the third episode, the adaptation was a little wonky. The one with Kuro and Kaya.
Is cringe and horrible and bad.
But the first couple episodes were well adapted, and so nothing against.
We'll get to episode 4 one day. It's episode 3 left a bad taste, so it's
maybe Saturday.
Maybe if we don't blow away. Was it Miss Monday? Was that the name of the big black bodybuilder woman who we said is going to be properly adapted, or did she have a different name?
I mean, she might have been black. I don't know. That didn't really indicate. I don't think but she was a bodybuilder. Well,
the fact that Zoro grabbed her face with his bare hand and like crushed her and destroyed her makes us all believe she's black, because Zoro kind of has a thing for fighting black people. So I'm pretty sure she was darker skinned. This character we were discussing. And Jarman has a casting idea. It says Michelle Obama confirmed for season 2.
Well, for some reason, I think what's her name, Joan something or other, that died mysteriously. She told me that Michelle Obama's really good at packing on muscle compared to most women, maybe in certain areas especially. But rest in peace to whatever that lady's name was. I forget off the top of my head. But Michelle Obama, listen, you know what? The election was stolen from her. She should have been our new president, so she better stay culturally, with us in some way.
Speaking of casting, is it Jamie Lee Curtis? Is that the name of that old wrinkly bitch? She is old. She wanted to play the witch doctor, 140-year-old Dr. Kureha, but then there was a scheduling conflict, so she couldn't, which is fine by me because I don't like her. I don't want to see her. She would have fit the role, but I don't like her. Too ugly. And last comment. Tim says, I love how in the 4Kids dub, Laboon is just an iceberg that they fly past.
Well, I hope that's not the Hulu version that I still have 40 episodes to catch up on, but
The 4Kids dub, I don't know if it's available to watch anywhere. Maybe just on piracy anime websites. We should watch through it, though. It is pretty kino with all the changes they make. But they cut out the 2 episodes of Laboon, and they just animated poorly in a shitty iceberg and they just sail past it. So we're missing crucial context to the grand line in the story, and I guess we don't know Miss Wednesday and Vivi. Like, we just meet them at what's it called?
Maybe they were on the Titanic and it hit the iceberg and we saved them. They got on the Going Merry. Is that how it goes down?
I think they just skip it. I don't remember. And then all of Little Garden was skipped completely.
Damn.
Because they desperately wanted to get to Drum Island. And you don't know why yet, but they said the kids are going to love Drum Island when we get there. We got to skip the Little Garden with the Giants is stupid. Got to skip Laboon. Just go straight from Whiskey Peak to fucking Drum Island. What were they thinking, Eggy?
Well, I'd be wondering, considering that yeah.
They knew the kids would love Wapol. They needed to get them to Wapol, okay? They said, we need to fast track the anime to the Wapol episode.
I think probably the first time in this volume that I laughed out loud is when Wapol steps over and takes a bite out of the Going Merry and like his face is all contorted. He looks completely ridiculous. But what I would wonder is it probably doesn't even matter in this dub. But we have both the eternal pose of Alabastia and also just being directed by the Giants. Both come from Little Garden, so I'd be curious how they determine that. Probably just they don't care at all and they just show up. Maybe,
I don't remember. I haven't watched it since I was like 8.
Yeah, that would just be my probably shot in the dark guess. Is that whatever? Who cares? Oh, the wind's blowing us over here. Hey, Drum Island, woo! I mean, I guess Nami's probably still sick in it, but. Okay. So she's just sick. We gotta pull over somewhere. Oh my God, there's an island. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, it was probably. I think they called it Grand Line sickness. That did just spark into my mind. But Eggy, enough about comments and all this nonsense. We're 17 minutes in, so I need to ask you. It's top of the morning, so what's top of mind from volume 15?
Well, I guess probably Wapol. I'll say that. Maybe call me a 4.
More than Django? New S-tier character unleashed?
I mean, it was funny because as I was reading it, so my last prediction was that he was getting out of Syrup Village immediately. Why would he be there? It's crazy. He's getting out. And he actually stuck around a little bit more than I thought.
He went and got lunch.
Gets ran out by the Usopp pirates. You know what? They're keeping that strength up. He probably could have killed the entire time. Maybe not. Yeah, he was completely traumatized by how strongly he was defeated. Also, he got abandoned by his own ship, or it was sailing off anyway, so I believe that was the implication. But with that being said, once he boards his dinghy and flies off into the sea away from those terrifying Usopp pirates, he does, happen to be sleeping in his dinghy as it drifts by Axe Hand Morgan, who's also just sleeping in his dinghy. So I thought a link up was inevitable, and I had predicted that. So I was like, when I saw that, I was like, ooh, but, well, not quite so much.
I mean, a link up, Django is kind of responsible for the downfall of Morgan. He hypnotized him and took his personality away and kind of ruined his life and led to this position he's in now. So I feel like, but Morgan doesn't even know that. So it's not like he would want revenge. It's just, I like that it was a fateful encounter and they were just both sleeping, crossing ships in the sea. And that, because really, what interaction otherwise can they have that would be meaningful for either of them?
I mean, yeah, that's fair. I guess it would just be my mind being the residual existence of our two, wayward characters that don't really have too much else going on.
Is it a spoiler to say if something does not happen? Because I might be wrong, but I think this might be the last time we see Captain Morgan. I think he's just endlessly drifting in the East Blue.
He's getting eaten by Momu.
It might be. Now, I might be wrong. We might be proven wrong 800 chapters from now, but I don't remember seeing him again.
Well, if I had some Captain Morgan to the side of me here at 1:00 in the afternoon, I would raise it up and take a sip here and, in honor of his memory, but I guess I'll have to do that another time.
We should set up a Captain Morgan cosplay for you. I think we can make a good paper mache axe for you.
Paper mache metal jaw. Well, even so, you know what? To be honest, Django he ends up in an even more beautiful place, funky disco island. That's where I'd love to live. But also, just like me, you know, everywhere he shows up, he's got a bounty on his head, and his wanted posters being shown around while he's literally standing like 10 feet away and like soy facing about getting caught.
Yeah, imagine you show up to heaven and the angels are out looking for you. What a nightmare situation. But hopefully Django can hypnotize his way out of it and get some funky dance moves going. Yeah, that's our prediction for the future of Django's cover story. He'll hypnotize his way out of it. Why not?
Yeah, that's his forte. So hopefully, maybe you can put on like a fake mustache or something, and then just keep that hypnosis going.
Should we dive into these chapters chronologically, Eggy? Are we ready? Unless you want to talk about Wapol real quick. And damn, that wind is pounding. This might be the last episode. I don't know how I'm going to upload this if we get blown away, Eggy. This shit is insane out there. It's like fucking hurricane gust winds in Iowa. What is happening?
Wizard of Oz, you know what? Better be clicking your heels.
We're not in Iowa anymore, folks. And I was going to say we're in the One Piece world, but it does not have a name. So kind of hard to do that.
I'll just say this. Because the other thing would probably be Dory. Oh my goodness, is actually alive. But that's the first thing that happens in our first chapter, so we'll get to that chronologically. I think the thing with Wapol for me was when he first shows up. Okay, I'm just going off of what my emotions were. So what was feeling intense to me? What was
the emotional journey of Wapol? I can't wait to hear this.
Oh, because we see Chess. He's in this like snowstorm on the water, and he's just standing on the water. So I'm like, oh my goodness,
he's Jesus.
I was gonna say, is this the Jesus of One Piece? You know, he's walking on water. Be. Well, I mean, there's the submergible ship, in like freezing, submerging water. I'm not sure if I really got a satisfactory explanation for how that worked out, considering they also had some, troops and stuff on this ship also. But anyhow, so they show up, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be. I think
it was like kind of like a pumpkin and like unwrapped as it came out of the water, maybe, and that they were all safe inside the wrapping. Because he was the king of this kingdom, so he's gonna have the money to have the best technology on his ship or whatever to have like a big submarine ship.
I'm also gonna be curious to see if his devil fruit power was something that he had obtained before all his being expelled from his own village. Or really fleeing his own village when it was under attack, or if that was something that he gained out on the seas. I think, I'm not sure if we have a clear definition on that yet, but it'd be interesting to have a king that had a devil fruit power. But also, I should also say, right before this, we have Nami suddenly falling very, very ill, having, essentially a lethal fever, or it could be something that was really towing the line of fatal.
And it's not Grand Line fever. It's yet to be seen what it is.
Mm-hmm. So that's already okay, now I'm kind of like, a little bit of stressor there. And then now we have this guy showing up, coming out of the water. Okay, that's concerning. So like, all right, the stress level elevates about another deviation. And then he comes into the ship and he just starts eating the ship, which is...
yeah, that's bad. Yeah.
Like, we can't be going down. We have Nami sick. It's a horrible, like, freezing cold weather conditions. A giant ship much larger than our own just came out of the water, and the captain boarded our ship and started eating the boards yes. and the structure of it. All of this is very bad, but thankfully Luffy gets him with a nice gum smack and knocks him off like Team Rocket's blasting off again.
Yeah, Sanji he walks out of like the cabin of the ship, and he just like finds himself, the ship's invaded and there's like dozens of men with guns, and he said something very nonchalant about it, like, oh, like we have company, or like something like that, like and he gets excited when he finds out that they can fight back, like, oh, we can fight, and then just no problem, like none of these people can do anything even with their guns.
Yeah, I was a little more of an Usopp than a Sanji at that, at this point, so I need to embody the Sanji-ness a little more. But the reason why Wapol's top of mind is, okay, so then they basically just discard him, and it's like, okay, well, little bit of, something itching at the back of the neck, like, they're still out there, and they want to get some revenge on the Straw Hats, so that's a little concerning. But okay, moving forward, we see this island, and I'm looking at it, it looks like a tundra. It's sucking them in with this, like, ever-flowing snow waterfall. Like, I don't know. This doesn't seem like a great place. This is the first, like, image that's shown of it. Doesn't seem particularly developed. And then we have people coming up off the snowbanks with guns.
Like the exact opposite of Whiskey Peak. The citizens are not inviting the pirates in.
Well, I guess, to be honest, the more that I go over this, I guess it all just kind of ties together. Like, I'm just basically, like, doing a summary of everything right now. But
all of the Drum Kingdom stuff in this volume builds up incredible tension towards the end, where now there's like this epic avalanche, and Wapol is here, and he's fucking over the bison guy. So there's a lot of doom and gloom building up here.
So I guess I'll try to be, so we can get into the chronological. I'll try to have a good summation here for my point here, just a little bit. So they show up. There's hostility. The hostility is overcome. It's understood. And then he says, "Oh yeah, we got Wapol. He's our evil king that was ran off, but thankfully, we lost. We were attacked by these pirates, but at least it made him flee, so now we can rebuild." And then Wapol sees Drum Island, and basically at that point, I'm just like, oh, fuck. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we just saw him like a chapter or two ago. I thought maybe, there's a chance that we wouldn't be running back into him, but...
But what is there to worry about if Luffy beat him with one attack?
That's true. I guess... there was their interaction. We come in and we see like this village that's recently suffered. I'm getting like Orangetown flashbacks of this devastated village.
But and do you remember who caused the devastation here?
Blackbeard, I think, was the
first
pirate.
Name drop of Blackbeard. When you think of pirates, is that not like the pirate in common modern culture? Blackbeard? That's got to be a big character in this show.
Anonymous. I would think so. And speaking of big characters, there's a reveal of towards the end here, one of the last chapters, of a character who sounds awfully familiar. I think I might have heard about him a couple times. A reindeer. No.
Oh. You didn't hear about Dalton in popular culture. Through cultural osmosis, you're not a big fan of Dalton the bison?
I worked with a guy named Dalton once, though, and he was a real stand-up guy. You know what? He was a real family man. So
just like this one. You heard of this reindeer named Chopper. What about him?
Well, I think just casual One Piece media. He might be on that desk over there somewhere.
You might have been there when he was inside of a cum jar that was opened during Mumkey's mailbag, maybe? Or maybe Elvis was there. Maybe that wasn't you.
Oh yeah, he's alive still. They said he wasn't, but he's still getting around. Uh-huh. So just the sort of the whole context of here's this vulnerable village. They're just getting back on their feet, and they're about to have their tyrant back at the shores. He's fired up over this whole Straw Hat situation. He sees their ship there, and he's just he's out for blood. So yeah, he's to me, he was kind of the primary aspect here, just not even so much of what he could do to the Straw Hats, but just, what he comes in and just slaughtering the guard is the first thing he does. Just this idea of a vulnerable populace, the Tyrant King, your most valuable warriors. Well, first off, Dalton, he's not looking so good at the end of this volume for one, but the Straw Hat crew is basically split up. Nami, she's got about 1% life. They're being chased by giant flesh-eating rabbit bears, and there's an avalanche is the last panel.
And if Luffy gets touched, Nami's dead. Like, he can't even fight back. He can only dodge. And even if they survive, he has to climb a mountain, and then the person they're looking for is not even there. Like, she's just... Kuroha's fucking off in all the different towns, so it's a pretty dire situation that we're left off with.
Reminds me of something. I don't know if this is the right word. It's been so long. No, that's not quite right.
Kafka-esque?
Well, it just reminds me of, this is like the escort quest, okay? If you're a real gamer head, you know about escort quest. This is Luffy's escort quest with Nami, and I ain't talking about the ladies you pay for. I'm talking about get them safe and sound. And there's the two of them that come to mind in World of Warcraft, and they're both. One of them is an alliance quest in Red Ridge. They're both like about level 23 to 25 quests, and one of them is in Theramore, I believe. It's a horde quest. They're both notorious for being extremely difficult, being swarmed and swamped with tons of enemies, and it's really out of control. The one that's the guy out of the cave, and then the guy out of the castle, the Theramore castle. So my real gamer heads know about those, but. Yeah, so it's just tension on tension here, especially starting at the beginning of the volume. It really just doesn't let up because we have the unfriendlies, pulling up on Sanji inside the wax hut. It's really just, even though nothing is so heavy, like nothing seems impossible here for them to overcome, but it's just like it's like a fly buzzing around. It's like I'm trying to chill for a minute. Okay, I'm trying to have some Sanji food and just maybe a little grog or something. Can you just give me a second here,
Yeah, and One Piece is not afraid to set up a big bad like Crocodile, Mr. Zero. We open the volume all about him. Like, oh yeah, this is the big bad guy to focus on now. And then let's take a detour. Now Wapol's going to be the bad guy for a bit. And we'll get back to this other shit later. So it's not afraid to take some detours and have multiple things for us to worry about at the same time.
Hey, that is so true. And that's one thing too, the harkening back to that comment. I think that at the beginning where the guy's like, well, I just don't know if I really like anime. I feel like if you do, or if you're a fan of manga, I can see why this is the most popular one of all time, because there's a linear thread of what's going on. We're going to start here and there's going to be this, and we are going to eventually move forward here, but there's just so many things going on and coming at you from so many different ways. It's just always every volume is like, wow.
Yeah, speaking of which, if we dive in, chapter 127, we've got so many different things going on. We get caught up with Smoker, even, just so many different threads always finding its way to be weaved in. So if we're going to start off, Dory is revealed to still be alive because after 100 years of sparring, their weapons are too dull to actually kill. What do you think of this? A fake out death in One Piece, Eggy. We get the emotional pain of seeing this character's death and we have to deal with it, only for it to have the rug pulled out from us at the end of the arc and say, actually, this character didn't die.
Well, in a lot of cases, I think I would probably be dissatisfied. That doesn't sound good to be dissatisfied with somebody still being alive, but there would be something it wouldn't feel quite right. It would just sort of it was all a dream kind of, that is sometimes you're kind of everything you felt prior is lessened. The experience you just had, this emotional thing you just went through is now lessened. But in this case, I was okay with it. I think it was a little, plot construct-y for Dory to just, I had to wait until the majority of all the combat was completed now to wake up.
Now that all the bad guys are gone, I'm okay and can sit up.
Was he looking? He was maybe opened his eyes maybe 10 minutes ago and was looking. He's like, oh yeah, no, I'm good on that. And maybe that was fine if he's still pretty injured. Maybe he wasn't inclined to be any part of it. He's just gonna let things go how they're gonna go.
But will it have you in the future if a character dies? Will you think, it's just gonna be another Dory? He's just gonna wake up in 20 chapters?
I'll say this, maybe it's just something in my brain, but the dull weapon explanation, it was kind of satisfactory enough that I didn't kind of side-eye it too hard. And I think that it all came together all right for me with that explanation, and then also his defeat playing such a role in really firing Broggy up for the whole Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Week conflict. But
it does make it pretty cool at the end when they do their combined Hakaku sovereignty attack on the fish and their weapons just get obliterated. One final, the last hurrah, some might say. And now they're just gonna go back to punching each other, I guess, when the volcano goes off. They're just gonna be like, how are you gonna kill him? If this is a fight to the death and you don't have weapons anymore, surely you have to call it a draw, right?
Well, they've got these giant sea monster skeletons. I don't know. They don't seem to be using these for any kind of structure or.
Well, they used it to trap Luffy last volume. That's what he was trapped underneath.
But I think they would probably have enough between the two skeletons that they could maybe section off some to fashion into weaponry, like just take some sea monster bones. They might be a little bit, the sea monsters, they're not very dense sometimes. They might have kind of a bone structure where the bones are a little airy, maybe, if you will. They kind of have some like sponginess to them. So maybe they're not strong enough to, but I feel like they got to have some natural resource on there if they wanted to try and go with some new weaponry. They could probably figure something out. But
don't you think their minds, their memory has been jogged because Zoro and Sanji are doing the exact same bet they were doing 100 years ago, and now that they've remembered that, can't they just measure the two fish carcasses to see which one was a few inches longer? Wouldn't that prove who the winner is? Why do they have to fight still? They remembered why they're fighting. Just go measure that shit.
I'm not sure if they seem the most precisely measuring an entire island type, and then also I could also see if the cartilage is gone. Maybe one was actually originally larger, but the skeletons are just different.
During the chat with Mr. Zero, and the irony here of Crocodile, and we know it's Crocodile. Vivi says as much in this volume. Crocodile thinks he's talking to Mr. 3, and it's ironic because San means 3 in Japanese, so he's kind of talking to Mr. 3, technically. He's the third man to join the crew. I think is how Oda justifies it, but the Unlucky show up. They don't leave a scratch on Sanji. He easily defeats them and gets their eternal pose to Alabasta. But most importantly, Eggy, I teased this long ago. In Crocodile's little chamber where he's talking on the snail phone, we see a banana gator, Eggy. Did you notice it?
Well, I just thought it was a crocodile. So I'm like, that's why they call it crocodiles, because he's got a crocodile.
It's a ginormous alligator, but on its head, there's a banana. You might not have noticed it in the design, but if you take another look, it's in chapter 127. Go look at that banana gator. I'm thinking it's S tier. I'm thinking we have a new Momu on our hands.
Okay, I'll agree with that. I will also say that Karu, really still in this volume, really still holding it down and being a valuable member of the team. So,
what did he do in this volume?
He was keeping an eye on Nami. I think when Wapol's crew was at he was like, let's keep an eye on Nami. We gotta go see what's going on. Well, you know what? To be honest, I don't think I did see that banana, but now I'm seeing it here now. I think that maybe in the design of the scales, I just kind of it didn't catch my eye, but I do see it there now. And then there's a big old gator.
Well, that's why, we haven't got to it, obviously, but when Luffy sees one and he just says, oh, look at the banana, like the fact that the crocodile is so ginormous compared to the small banana design makes it very funny, because you can almost not notice. You clearly cannot notice the banana on a first glance, so that's funny. But anything else from this chapter? Mr. Zero, he's like touching it's like a flower in a glass of ice water, and when he gets pissed, it kind of wilts and dies. What do we think of this? What's going on? He has flower killing power?
Well, it's weird because it seems to say snapping, so usually the stem of a flower isn't going to be snapping unless unless it was dying already, so maybe he's sucking the life out of it, and then it kind of just deteriorates, so maybe he's got like a vampirism thing going on. What I don't understand also is that the water evaporates at the same time, so maybe there's like a heat element here. But that's the only reason why I would think, or maybe it could be the flowers trying to suck up the water or something to not die. I'm gonna say my first thought here is like some sort of vampirism. Some sort of energy draining thing going on.
Okay, any other thoughts with Mr. Zero in this scene?
Well, he calls for Mr. 2 to go and kill Mr. 3 or dispose of him for the fact that Sanji say, oh, yeah, I killed all the Straw Hat crew, and then the Unluckies or Unfriendlies, they come through the window with the pose. He fights them while the phone is still transmitting. And then he's like, what the hell was that? He's like, they came back to life, but I killed them again. But now they're really dead this time. So then I think he was kind of dissatisfied with the results that he was perceiving. And so we got Mr. 2 on the case.
And we do see a brief glimpse of Mr. 2. Do you remember anything about his design? I think he had like 2 swan heads kind of poking out his shoulders.
Yeah, I want to say this. Unfortunately, I am familiar. I believe he's in this series. There was a guy who I think back, I don't know, many years ago, probably like 5-6 years ago, I gamed with this guy who his profile was Do Flamingo or something like that. And I believe that's a One Piece character of some kind. So like the birds as a part of Mr. 2's outfit, that gave me that flamingo vibe. But other than that, that's basically all I gleaned from his design at that time.
He is in One Piece Grand Battle. He's one of the characters I don't let you play as. So, but now that we've met him, maybe we can.
Well, might need one more volume because I mean we've seen him, but I don't know, might need a little more. But
I think we have now officially seen every character in that game because we saw Smoker, we've seen Crocodile, and now Mr. 2. So there we go. And then we get Captain Smoker and his Navy crew. They're on the Grand Line, and they intercept this phone call between Crocodile and Sanji. They could just intercept any phone call? Did Oda predict the NSA?
Well, I mean, you had the code talkers or whatever back in World War II, so they might need to get something a little bit stronger because I think...
they missed a lot of the context. They completely misinterpreted what's going on, and it seems that they Straw Hats, Princess, Mr. Zero, they're not arriving to the correct conclusion about what's happening.
This is basically a cut and dry version of the telephone game. You know, they're just like no inclination whatsoever that the Mr. 3 is not who he appeared to be. Although I did find it funny how Smoker, he basically tricks Mr. 11 so easily. I think Mr. 11, he's got to be, that's the lowest ranking one that we've seen, even lower than anybody that was at Whiskey Peak, right? So maybe that's why he's low ranking.
He's like Usopp tier, complete worthless.
They're basically like, oh, do your parents know you're gay? Kind of like,
no matter what you say, you're fucked. Yeah.
Right.
Because if you deny it, then you're homophobic. Of course.
That's right.
That's right. The issue with that. But they're heading towards Alabasta, and of course, Luffy and the crew are taking a pit stop. So I think Smoker might be waiting for them at Alabasta. Might cause a problem in the future. If we even make it that far, Wapol might kill the whole crew. It might be the end of One Piece already, Eggy.
Well, I want to say this, since you did bring it up a little bit ago when we were talking about Dory and... Oh, wait, he's actually not dead. I didn't have an issue believing that he was going to be dead because I didn't feel like he was that significant to the story as a whole here. But if we're talking basically any even slightly main crew character dying, I unfortunately, not to be some kind of Debbie Downer here, but I feel like I don't believe that they would actually die. Like even if it takes 100 chapters, they're probably coming back. I would have trouble feeling at this point that they would get completely cast out after some of them have really had some time and some investment here in our eyes, ears, and hearts.
Well, what if Usopp dies and they just replace him with Usopp's long lost brother? Would that make up for it? Like, he might be dead, but here's an identical character to fill in his spot.
In my heart, he could never, but for story purposes, he would probably help things continue moving along, at least. He's like, oh...
He has an even longer nose.
He's got to watch out if he ever goes to Drum Kingdom because he gets a little crinkled up.
Well, because Yasopp, he's a man of the ocean. He's probably putting babies in all kinds of women. There's probably Usopp's running around lying all over the place, waiting for the pirates to come home. We don't know.
I hope there is a chapter one day where it's like the Usopp family reunion and it's just Yasopp like drinking and like firing a gun in the air and there's like 50 different like slightly unusual looking Usopps running around.
Do we want Usopp to punch his dad when he meets him, or is he gonna like bow down at his feet?
Well, I mean, he really got him fired up and inspired about all of these seafaring adventures, so I think he at least owes him that much. There could be a little bit of a disappointment in his father for never coming around. I don't know if I would see him strike without provocation, like if they run into each other and he's like, "Oh boy, why you look uglier than I thought you'd ever be, but he must have got that from your mother's side. What's she up to anyway?" And he'd probably be like, "Oh, what the fuck? You know,
what's your mother up to, son?"
Talking too much shit. It hurts too much. You know what? Coming off on the wrong foot. Hey, but he's a pirate, you know, so he's not necessarily coming around with the distinguished, gentlemanly behavior. But I could see that happening. But I think he still definitely got him going in his pirate fantasies, which then became reality. So I think he's got to give him that much, but I could see him under certain circumstances wanting to give him a smack.
Well, it's still yet to be seen. It's what I would want, but I don't know if that's consistent with what we've seen from Usopp so far. Is there anything else from Little Garden? I think we more or less covered all the important scenes from these 3 chapters. I guess when Sanji meets up with everybody, and I like that Usopp's like, oh, now he shows up? Like, Usopp's putting in all the fight in this fucking arc, and Sanji's fucking off. Which, it seems, Drum Island, I think Zoro's kind of getting the Sanji treatment. He's like, hey, I'm just gonna fucking go for a swim and not show up for the rest of the volume. That's kind of what Sanji did at Little Garden, but hey, I'm getting ahead of myself with that. Point is, Eggy, any other thoughts on Little Garden before we put it on the tier list?
Nope. I think I'm ready to determine my ranking here.
I'll read through my notes real quick for last minute thoughts. I like when Sanji joins them. We don't see a panel of this happening, but suddenly Nami, who is just down to her bra, is now wearing his black chef's coat. So I like that between panels he covered her up. What a gentleman. Very sweet. You would think Sanji would want to keep her in her bra, but no.
He got what he was looking for. I definitely remember that panel of him like observing her in her bra, and his eyes are like jumping 3 feet out. Also, which reminds me, was that like the first panel in 127? I want to just refresh my memory here, but when Dory comes to it, every single person, their eyes are sticking out like 4 feet. Like you can literally just see like their eye stalks. They're all looking like fucking Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, they're all shocked that he's alive. Like, oh, Oda lied to us for drama. I can't believe this happened. And then finally, when they're coming up on the Island Eater giant goldfish monster, Usopp says, "A giant goldfish? I think I've heard of this somewhere." Did that jog your memory?
Nope.
So when Usopp is introduced, one of the lies he tells Kaya is about encountering a giant goldfish whose poop was the size of an island. And the giants literally say word for word, its poop gets confused for islands.
Well, I don't know where he would have picked that up from. Maybe it must have been from his father, I guess, once upon a time. So maybe I might need to go back and re-examine some of those stories he was telling. Maybe there's other spoiler hints and foreshadowing in those stories.
Some people think maybe Usopp's lies have a way of coming true. So maybe we have to go reread those chapters and see what's going to happen.
Anything's possible on the Grand Line, folks.
Okay, Eggy, where are you putting it on the tier list? The Little Garden, and do you need any refreshers on where you put other things?
Yeah, I think I did. The Reverse Mountain was at the very end of B tier, right, as I recall?
Reverse Mountain, you have at C tier. And I had it at D tier.
Okay.
You had Whiskey Peak at the end of B tier.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to give this... I'll probably put this above Whiskey Peak, I think, in B tier.
What about above Romance Dawn?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
What about above Syrup Village?
I I think right now, for the foundational purposes it serves lore-wise, I think I'm going to keep Serve Village probably above Little Garden. I really like Little Garden. I really enjoyed it. It was a very beautiful place. It had a lot of great combat. Gosh, to be honest, now that I think of, like, with the whole candelabra and everything, that was pretty intense. All right, I think I've convinced myself. All right, I'm going to put it above Serve Village, actually.
What about Orange Town? You have Orange Town as the king of the B tier.
I think I'm going to keep Orange Town where it's at for now, because I think with Choo Choo and the combat was pretty good. There was a good balance of emotion and good combat here. This is probably, I think, the combat here. And just the lore of the Giants are cool. It's a nice area. We're on the Grand Line. It's an interesting and action-packed arc. So I think for that reason, I'm going to put it above Serve Village. But I think, to me, Orange Town is just still got a little bit more. It's got a little more for me at the moment. They're pretty close, but yeah. So I'm going to say above Serve Village and below Orange Town.
I currently have Whiskey Peak as the king of the B tier, and I'm here to say Little Garden has dethroned the king, the new king of B tier. I think I forgot just how much fun Little Garden is, especially just to read through it. It's very short and quick, breezy, but lots of villains with different types of powers. We haven't really encountered this yet. Like, we have 4 or 5 villains we have to take down, and they all have superpowers that are different. And it's just exciting and a lot of fun. That's the main word that comes to mind, is this was fun. It's pure adventure. We're in an island of dinosaurs and giants. We're really getting a taste of what the Grand Line has to offer after Whiskey Peak was a little bit simple for my taste. This is like the first real Grand Line island. King of the B tier, it doesn't have any super emotional depth that got to me as the A tiers tend to require. Like, it does suck that Dory and Brogy's match got interrupted, but it's all redeemed in the end anyway, so. King of the B tier for me, Eggy. Is that it for Little Garden?
I think so. I think it's time to harvest this garden and move forth at maximum speed, you might say. Shout out to chapter 130.
So I guess the very final panel of the arc is Nami coming down with a sickness. Mm-hmm. Not to be disturbed about it, but she's down with a sickness. And Luffy, Usopp, and Sanji all claim they've never been sick before and they don't know if it hurts. Do we believe this? None of them have ever been sick? And Vivi's like, are you guys even human?
Well,
how does illness work? Like, if you're made of rubber, can you get a human disease?
I mean, I don't see why not. Like, you're gonna have a.
If your brain is made of rubber, can the brain worm that went to RFK's brain, can that eat through rubber the way it would eat through organic brain material? Could he be immune to, like, a flu? I mean, he has to be. He says he's never been sick. I just don't know about Sanji and Usopp, what makes them so inhuman.
Well, when I think of these guys, all of them have been training in a physical manner. Maybe Usopp, and he's more of a sharpshooter, so it's kind of hard to say for sure there. That might have just been good parenting on his mother's part. Maybe she, worked hard and she ended up getting sick because she was really, making sure that he had everything he needed and he wasn't getting sick. But I think with Sanji, he's obviously educated in nutrition. But I think both of them have sort of physical training, and I think when you have a physical training that's supposed to bolster the immune system, it's supposed to make you more resistant to illness, I think. So we have Nami here. The Grand Line, I think they're saying, seems to be it's a climate shift that is impacting her health, but she can fight. I just don't think she does the kind of physical training. It would seem, from what we've seen, she's more of this, navigator, so she's more brains over brawn, so maybe she's not getting that training she needs to kind of bolster her immune system. But yeah, other than that, I guess it's anybody's guess. Because he didn't eat
gum fruit until he was
like
he
8.
didn't. And a lot of this illness that has significant effects is typically in a childhood that would maybe be younger than when he consumed that devil fruit. So if he never had any illnesses growing up, I guess, as a man once said, superior genetics.
He's just built different. They're too tough. Chapter 130, the opening chapter of this arc, is very much building up this internal conflict for Vivi. We find out that in Alabasta, 300,000 of the Imperial Army soldiers have defected to the rebel army, so now it's about 50-50. A civil war is brewing, and any minute now, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives of Vivi citizens will be lost. And they're still a week away from Alabasta, but Nami is sick. Is there time to waste? Can they spare the time to find her a doctor to heal her? And that is the conflict Vivi goes through this chapter. And the crew seems willing to go along with whatever she wants. And even she comes out and kind of says what she intends in a very backwards way. We need to get to Alabasta as fast as possible, no matter what. And everybody's kind of ... ellipses, yeah, okay. And then she says, and that's why we need to cure Nami. And everybody's yeah. So Vivi, she has a heart, and she has to come to the conclusion that saving Nami is more important than hightailing it straight there. So hopefully this gamble pays off.
Yeah, they're probably not doing trench warfare. Even if it takes 2 weeks, you're going to have losses. But, it takes time to really stack up, measurable losses. Obviously, better to not have any, but if we have to come to terms and kind of say this is our navigator, she's very ill. She's a crucial part of our navigation and directing us and assisting us in the ultimate conclusion of being able to return to the kingdom and start getting this mediation going on to try and resolve. And also, furthermore, the Straw Hat crew in themselves have shown to be very powerful, and these are very powerful allies that you're going to want them to be in the best shape that they can be in when you do arrive to Alabasta, because you're going to probably need to rely on them if you need to do any kind of overthrowing of, let's say, any banana-headed reptiles or anything of that nature. So it's all part of being a leader. Sometimes you got to make those tough calls and say, hey, we might lose 10,000 people, but it is what it is, Kingdom Tube.
One last thing in this chapter, we have a strange phenomena from Nami, where she somehow, even when she's terribly sick with 104-degree fever, she can still somehow predict what is described as an impossible to predict cyclone that randomly appears on the water, just a huge tornado in the middle of the ocean pops up, and she predicts it and saves their lives by steering them on a new course. And Vivi thinks to herself, this girl doesn't just use the wind and sky to predict the weather, it's as though she feels it in her bones.
Well, I believe old people do, and maybe dogs also can feel the weather change in their bones. So, maybe she's just an old soul, a little ahead of her time. But
you don't think she's some magical weather fairy?
Well, no, that's not something I'd be particularly inclined. Just because, we went through her whole backstory. Yes, she was an adopted child, so her parents, we might not know. They might be some kind of magical people, but just the fact that we haven't seen any really implicit acknowledgement in her backstory that we went through. There was no inclination. We have her original appearance where she gets the ship from those pirates, and then all of a sudden a storm appears. She didn't really seem to actually, I guess when they were at Logetown, she did kind of feel that coming on.
She can feel the barometric pressure in her bones, Eggy, in her bones.
Or maybe she just had the first ever Mexican weight loss surgery, so she's particularly sensitive to barometric pressure.
Well, yeah, do not fly to Mexico on those little planes. If you got stitches, might burst open from the pressure. Shout out Wings of Redemption. Mm-hmm. Let's move on. We run into Chess and Marimo. I think they call it Kuro Marimo, but Kuro means black, so we can just say Black Marimo or Marimo, but he's not really a character, so I don't know if we'll ever mention him again. We got Wapol. We already talked about all this shit, so we could pretty much breeze our way through this, but was there anything else about this encounter of them out at sea that you wanted to mention?
It basically, yeah, I think we pretty much covered it all pretty good. You know, Chassie's standing on the water, the ship pops up.
At one point, Wapol says, "Yum, an anchor rope," and he's just like eating it like spaghetti. He thinks every food is delicious. Do you relate to Wapol? Is that why he's top of mind? Like this weirdly shaped man who can eat anything, like things that normal humans cannot consume. He can shovel down his throat, no problem. Is that not Grubbin Greg to a T?
Well, you know, I think if I lost about 100 pounds, you know, I might kind of have a little bit of like a Wapol chin going on here.
We could get it.
I did once upon a time chew Turkish gum. There was this thing. This is like the original quote unquote Looks Max from back in the day. You would buy this Turkish gum off Amazon. It's like chewing on an eraser, but then you would freeze it to make it extra hard to chew, and you would like chew like 10 pieces a day. And it was supposed to make your jaw and teeth and everything like really strong. So maybe I do have something of a
you ate the munch fruit in the form of Turkish gum.
I did once bite through a cell phone when I was extremely drunk and possibly on drugs also at the same time, because I got donated $5,000 on a live stream. So
okay, so they show up to Drum Island, Drum Kingdom, I don't remember, and all the townspeople are waiting with guns to say, "We don't want no pirates, get the fuck out of here." They fire a warning shot or two. Vivi gets struck, and Luffy is going ballistic. I will say I'm glad that she, at least for all intents and purposes, says like almost 2 pounds later, "Oh, thankfully it was just a graze," because when that shot goes off and blood is drawn, I was just like, oh fuck, like it was just, we can't catch a break. Like I feel like I'm Nami, I'm feverish over here. Like holy fuck, where's the island? We don't know. There's cyclones coming out of the ground, and there's just ships coming out of the ground. They're eating the ships. Oh my goodness, folks, they're eating the ships. Oh my goodness. And now there's a phenomenon in One Piece that I assume is in all media called the speed reader. People who just, they read the new chapter as fast as possible, don't process anything, and come to retarded conclusions. And some of the speed readers out there believe that One Piece has very little to no character development specifically for Luffy. They're like, oh, Luffy's he's just an idiot and he doesn't change the whole story. But this is a major moment where Vivi teaches him, like, you are a failure of a captain. Like, you need to show humility, get down on your hands and knees and beg these people. You can't just fight your way out of everything. And, you know, not to spoil anything, but this is something that sticks with Luffy. So all you Luffy character development haters, go reread chapter 132. Go fuck yourselves. That's what I'm trying to say.
And I think it was the right time for that development to happen here, because we are in a very dire situation. We've got the fermenting civil war. We have Nami in a deteriorating position, and we're out here in the Grand Line. And Nami is our shining jewel for this navigation. We need her to be able to figure out where we're going here. So, like, we really have nowhere else to turn. And so I'm just, I was like, I don't know, if I was these people and they just got wiped out by pirates and obvious pirates are showing up, and you know, I think that they were fortunate, Luffy's in the Straw Hat crew, I think they were fortunate that this guard was willing to accept that, because I mean, they just went through something so traumatic from somebody of your type, of your people, just did this to them, and they're still willing to accept you bowing down. They must have never met Don Krieg, I guess, because they would know better.
We meet a new legendary S-tier animal as we're walking towards the village. Do you know who I'm talking about? Might have to bow your head to him as he passes by.
Oh yeah, the hiking bear.
And then they meet like an ugly woman in the village and they think it's the bear, so they bow to her.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I don't know, the fauna of this island is interesting because, yeah, that's like the first thing they see. And, you know, we get in a little bit further with the Lapons. And then we got Woolly Mammoth, you know, the great transport for Wapol.
Oh, yeah, his big hippo thing. And I think Oda might have stolen some dialogue from Dunstan Checks In. Like, Like, Wapol says the same thing that the evil guy says to the monkey in that movie. He's like, oh, what, why? You're pissed because I killed your brothers? Come on. You know, it's like something like that. Like, I just live with it that I killed your family. You're my pet.
Dunstan's brothers get killed. I don't know, I guess.
Yeah. Dunstan is a slave for a man who is forcing him to be a thief. Like, he goes into hotel rooms and steals all the valuables. And the guy who's forcing him to do it killed Dunstan's family. It's like a fucking horrific situation in that movie. And it's still the highest rated monkey movie in the Monkey Box. Go check out Dunstan Checks In. Great film, genuinely.
I'll also say I think it's probably a bit of a tyrant cliche, like a tyrant, you know, they see everybody else as just so beneath them and so expendable, and any slight is taken as worthy of death. You know, shout out to Captain Morgan, you know, same type of mindset.
And Don Krieg.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, they don't see these lives as having any value whatsoever, so it's just like, hey, you know what, I stepped on this ant, so like, what, I gotta, you know, you're holding me to too high of a standard, I'm gonna step on that ant. If it's crawling on my foot or whatever, I'm gonna stomp on it.
It's called being an apex predator, and as the royalty, of course he sees himself as above everybody else. Literally above them. He lives in a castle on top of the highest mountain. I don't want to know how they built that, but I guess it happens in real life all the time. It sounds like a nightmare to me. But let's dissect Wapol a little bit, because in this story, usually the characters that are evil like this are pirates like Arlong or Don Krieg, or it's a marine who was brainwashed. But now we have the literal king, the royalty of the island is the foe, the evil person. And his whole thing is, it's ironic that they came here seeking a doctor for Nami, because this is the island of no doctors. Wapol took the 20 best doctors for himself and banished the rest. So if anybody gets sick, they have to rely completely on him. It's called the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. And it's just evil to have to rely on the government when you're sick. Shouldn't, does this metaphor make any sense? I don't know anything about Obamacare, Eggy.
I think it does, because all I remember about when that came into existence was that I had what was like 2012, so I was 20, just turning 21.
They said if you like your doctor, you can keep him. No, they banished him to another island. You got to climb the damn mountain if you want a doctor now. You got to go to Obamacare.gov, and it doesn't even fucking work.
Well, you know, some of these practitioners that kind of, you know, I'll say this, actually, I don't know, I mean, it's completely nonsensical, but it kind of comes around back to making sense, because I had insurance on my own for 1 year, and it was like $15 a month or something, and then like when Obamacare came in, they say it's gonna be like $400 a month.
Oh my god!
I took like it was like a 1%. I can't remember how these penalties work, because I eventually just stopped paying them. I don't think I've been audited for that yet, so nobody tell the government. But
yeah, if we're supposed to be paying an audit if we don't have insurance, then I must owe some money. I don't have no damn insurance.
It might have got repealed, but it was like for like they had something about it, but it was like, yeah, you're some percentage of your income. I forget how it was, because I just stopped paying attention to it and they never fined me, and then I ended up having health insurance with my job,
nice.
my jobs after that. But yeah,
we should calculate how much money we've saved not having insurance from the age of 27 onward. I've probably saved thousands of dollars not having to. It's not like I went to the hospital in that time. It would have been wasted money, so it all worked out for me.
And, you know, I once went like 2 years without paying car insurance, even in driving. You know, that saved me some money too. I think that might
be more illegal.
I think it might have impacted my credit at some point, but you know, whatever. It recovered, so you know, it's no big deal. But that's probably why my insurance was like triple when I did start paying it again. It was like triple the average, because I was so like blacklisted. But anyhow, well, that just kind of reminds me of that steep increase when we have that witch doctor
Kureha.
Dr. Kuriha. Yeah, Kuriha. When she comes in to town and she does treat an ill boy, she basically comes in, she's like, yeah, I'm going to take half of all the store's assets, plus I need this and this.
Yes.
That was kind of like the jump from like, okay, no, I'm over here working at the gas station paying like $15 a month, you know, just in case, you know, I'm being a nice citizen. And then they did the thing at that time too, where you used to be able to work full time, but then it was like if you did work full time, then they had to pay for your insurance or something. So we all got brought down to 32 hours a week, so that it was like that was like the minimum that you're like the most you could work, but also not have your insurance. So like all the full-time jobs switched to like 32 hour weeks when that came in, which was not the greatest. But you know what, that was, I think Trump might have canceled that out or something. So it is what it is at this point.
But, speaking of Trump and Wapol, now this is a story. Have you heard about this?
Probably not.
So once upon a time, my favorite One Piece YouTuber, a guy named Randy Troy. I still love Randy Troy. Still watch all his videos. Maybe he's fallen behind some of these other One Piece YouTubers for me now. But Randy Troy, he worked in the film industry, and he literally, as a One Piece YouTuber, he got a job to work on One Piece live action. So he's in the writer's room for season 2. But there's a problem. Now anything he says, articles will come out saying, One Piece live action writer says blank. and viral articles may come out that are a little bit humiliating. Now, Randy's been going through a rough time. He just posted that his mother passed away. Maybe he's not in a good mindset. But he did tweet out that Wapol is very much like Donald Trump. And people had to point out that Wapol was written in 1999, and the Donald Trump that the media hates the most didn't exist until 2015. So, not sure how Wapol could be based on Trump in any way. Like
took all the doctors away. He said, "Listen, I'm gonna have this one witch doctor. She's gonna give everybody ivermectin. You know, all the science over here that we've. You know, I'm just gonna go ship them off in a ship and ship them out."
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, in the 90s, Trump was a Democrat. So to like try to label a villain written back then as being Republican Trump now is straight up retarded and makes you look stupid. And now a bunch of articles went viral saying One Piece live action writer says Wapol will be based on Trump, and people are losing their shit, as they should. But he was just hired. You know, don't take what Randy Troy says too seriously. Shout out to whoever in the comments complained that we spend this show shitting on other creators. But no, I love Randy. He made a mistake. He made a mistake that went viral. It's not easy. And now he hasn't posted a video in a month. Maybe it's more because his mom died. I don't know. You know, prayers to the family, to the Troy family. Don't fuck up season 2. That's all I'm saying. Don't make him like Trump. Please don't make him like Trump. He's not like fucking Trump. When did Trump unhinge his mouth and take a bite out of the White House? It's never happened.
Hey, he's got 4 years to do it now. We might be seeing it. But I will just say that... I just had something in mind. I might have lost it.
Well, that's okay. Is it about Wapol? Because we're trying to finish up the Wapol chat right here. Should we move on to the Kureha healing the child scene? Because I'm a little interested about this.
Yes, we'll get back on track here with Kureha.
So she's clearly taking advantage of these people. Like, she just comes down from the mountain when she needs toilet paper or something, and then heals the sick, and then like a pirate. Luffy calls her a pirate pretty much. She just like takes whatever she wants as payment. And there is a child in pain with his leg, and she somehow diagnoses like there's bacteria down through this bone. But at the end of the day, she does heal him. The kid does feel better. Is it a complete scam? Like, we don't really have a resolution to this. It's ambiguous. Like, was the kid actually that horribly diseased and sick, or did she just heal kind of a simple thing and make it seem like he was going to die so that they'd be okay with getting all their shit stolen?
I have to say, it basically does seem opportunistic. I don't think we have enough information preceding this, enough context preceding this scene to really know that she has this great medical knowledge. I think the best inclination that we have here is that she's so functional at 139 years old, so she should know something about health. But I don't think.
Do you think she's really that old?
I don't know. I mean, compared to like 90-year-olds I've seen in real life, they look like dehydrated raisin people, and they're like way messed up and way like out of it. So it's hard to believe if we're really trying to be logical and really like one-to-one facts with real life here. But then also we have, the magical reindeer. What this whole thing reminds me of is the Grinch, because she lives like up over the town.
Uh-huh.
And as I recall in the Jim Carrey movie, he rides his dog with the antlers down the hill.
Yeah, this basically ripped off the Grinch. Like the imagery of a non-Santa figure with a sleigh and a reindeer coming down to not necessarily be as jolly as old Saint Nick. I think that 2000 was it the year 2000 that movie came out? It was after this is all I'm gonna say. They ripped off Oda.
Actually, to be honest, I think this chapter might have been, what do we got here? Oh, no. Yeah, the Grinch came out 2 months after this chapter.
Well, I guess it was does the book The Grinch have that image of the sleigh in front of the moon? Because then maybe Oda ripped off Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, it probably does.
Oh, shit. Well, you're looking up the PDF of The Grinch to read on 75 minutes into the One Piece podcast. We have to pull up The Grinch to read it.
No, but I did just double check, and yes, there is a image in the original Grinch story of him tying the reindeer antlers onto his dog. But that's just what, she's Grinch-like. She wants.
At least Chopper's a real reindeer.
Yeah,
he's not a dog with shit tied on.
What is it? He's got this helmet on, this hat. This might be some, maybe it's fake antlers glued to the sides, but I'll take your word for it. My thoughts right now is, as far as this goes, I don't have enough to say that she really knows what she's doing. She's moves into an abandoned building, so she's a squatter. I mean, you're 139 years old and you're a doctor and you're making like $200,000 a year for 100 years and you can't afford a place to live. It's just not adding up for me there. Maybe she did help this child, but I feel like a placebo could have been just as likely.
I think she certainly made him feel better, but maybe the intensity of how sick he was, she played up so that she could take half his assets. And then she's even kind enough to reduce it to 49% instead of 50%, so that was good. Meanwhile, Kureha's being chased down by Vivi, Usopp, and Dalton, who are trying to... They realize they sent Luffy and Sanji and Nami on a wild goose chase, or I guess a wild lapin chase, you might say. And then Dalton finds out Wapol's back, and he runs off. He's on a horse, but then he transforms into a bison. Eggy, what did you think of this? Have we ever seen anything like this before?
I don't believe we have. I gotta say, hey, sue me. The first thing I'm thinking of is like some DeviantArt Animorph, like furry alter ego.
I think I will sue you.
I'm gonna say, I don't know, my mind's been corrupted. I've spent too much time on the internet to when like anytime a guy goes like and he starts like transforming into a horse or some kind of like the bison, but anytime a man starts transforming into an animal, it just goes to bad places for me. Mm-hmm. But in any case, I believe this is the first time that we've seen this kind of metamorphosis from a devil fruit.
Yeah, and they say it's a zone type fruit. So basically, there's different types of devil fruits with different classifications, and zones, kind of looks like the word zoo. It's just the ones that'll turn you into an animal or something like that. So it looks like his powers, he can turn it into a bison or back into himself pretty freely. But he ends up getting shot full of arrows anyway, so who knows how much it actually helped.
Yeah, and they look like some pretty lethal wounds. So let's just hope that either one of these 20 doctors that were stolen by Wapol or the Witch Doctor actually have incredibly good medical powers, because I think Dalton's probably going to need it if he's going to have
those doctors are loyal to Wapol. They're not healing anybody else.
Hey, you know what? He served under Wapol at one point. They say him, Chess, and Kuromo, or whatever his name is, they were the three officers, so they were all under each other at one point. Maybe one of the doctors, if Wapol gives what's coming to him, they might say, "Oh, hey, you know what? All right, you're technically you're next in command. Let's get Chess and Mr. I'm gonna call him Afro Vegeta.
Yeah, that's
I keep forgetting his name, but he looks kind of, he's Vegeta he hasn't shaved and got a haircut in a while. He's got the Vegeta widow's peak. So I could see that being enough of a reason why they might defect and say, all right, you're the next up in command. So based on how our structure is, we're willing to give you some healing, or the witch doctor, maybe to be able to help determine that she has real medical powers. And
do you keep clicking on your mouse?
I have clicked a couple times.
Yeah, it keeps coming through.
Right.
But it's fine. So I think that about covers most of what we had in this volume. We do have Luffy and Sanji having a casual conversation while dodging like brutal attacks from these bunnies. Luffy says something like, in a village tavern as a kid, I heard that people in winter countries don't sleep because if they fall asleep, they'll die. So you just have to imagine like Shanks was drunk and lying to him or something, because that just, we see Dalton has a bed, as Sanji points out, so clearly they sleep. Was there anything else from that section that comes to mind?
Well, he said that people in the cold countries also have smooth skin because they're constantly going like this because they're so cold that they need to be warming themselves.
Yeah, Sanji brings that up, and then like Luffy calls Sanji stupid. It's Sanji's like, wow, you calling me stupid? And then it ends with the giant monstrous Lapins are causing an avalanche that will surely affect all of the different storylines that are going on.
That is true. Yeah, that's I don't know how they're getting out of that one. So maybe I frankly, I'm like, I'm ending on that, and I'm just like, hopefully there's just a lot of trees, and it all redirects the stream of falling snow directly onto Wapol and his soldiers, and puts them all into a giant snowball, like something out of a Scooby-Doo cartoon or whatever. They're gonna have like arms flying out, and it's gonna Dory, he came back to life at the beginning of Volume 15, so maybe something else very coincidentally helpful can happen at the beginning of Volume 16, because I think they're gonna need it.
Yeah, our Nami's dead for sure. One last thing, I didn't get a plug in earlier. When they're talking about Blackbeard and how they devastated this land, and what a coward Wapol, what kind of a king would abandon his people. Vivi would never do that. She's going undercover to save her people. We get this little juxtaposition of Vivi as a royalty versus Wapol and their attitudes towards the people and what they owe them. But back to Blackbeard, they say, hey, Blackbeard, it was a crew of 5 people, but they were all just so powerful we couldn't stand a chance. And I was thinking, a crew of 5 powerful people? That seems like a good parallel to another crew I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I guess this goes to show, I don't know if, did Luffy about Blackbeard when that scene was going on? I'm not sure.
I don't believe Luffy was paying attention to that.
Yeah. Well, if he does get familiar with that, I think it's going to just give him even greater aspirations. Like, there's already a pre-existing, small, dense, but powerful crew. I think he'd be excited to meet this crew and maybe, match their might. Go mano a mano, crew v crew.
Okay, I think that's all I had for this volume, Eggy. Anything we should leave this episode on, other than begging everybody to become a member of the Measly Crew? $3 per month. Sign up on YouTube. We have a Discord server that Eggy is now in. That's right, the Measly Crew One Piece discussion Discord server for members only. We got over 10 people in there already. Come join on the discussion. Eggy, go ahead.
Well, I'm not a huge Discord user, but, I'm going to do 2 things. For one, I'm just going to ramble about whatever in that Virgin channel chat, which is the only one I'll be using. There's another one I'm not going to click on.
Don't go in the spoiler channel, Eggy. We're talking about Loki in there. You don't want to know what his devil fruit power is.
That's right. Because the only one Loki I know about, shout out to Marvel. But, and what else? Yeah. I'm just going to mention this because maybe you'll be able to remind me as well. I need to actually start looking up, like, what happens on ships and, like, positions on ships, because there's probably going to come a point where I can't just sit down and you say we got new members and I'm like, oh yeah, this entire last week I didn't look into the functions of any crew on a ship at any time.
I think it's better if you just base it off their name and come up with a made up position.
Okay, maybe we'll see. Well, it depends on maybe where we're at next week. Make sure to get some more members up in here. It might impact if we have like 10 new members one week. I might need to just maybe do a cursory glance of like, I have a general idea of what happens on ships, but I'm sure there's probably something I'm missing. And then I could also then kind of take it half and half. Like, okay, I know that there's a guy who nails boards to the side or something, or he's like a structural repairman, and your name is,
Bob the Builder.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of which, we do see Usopp repairing the ship after Wapol ate it. That's another. Usopp, he's a marksman, he's the artist, and he repairs the ship. He's like the what is that called? A carpenter?
Renaissance man?
Carpentry?
Jack of all trades?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah.
Carpenter guy, yeah. He's got a lot of stuff going on.
But anyway, I kind of like faded off of my point there. But basically, I would take a pre-existing position that I know exists in like your name, and then maybe that'll give me a little bit more like of a logical way to get through and give you like a position that makes sense, so you're not just like some total nonsense that just happens to be on the ship. Mm-hmm. Although some of you guys are definitely just going to get that, but
it's probably what they appreciate. Yeah, but we could just keep making everybody have to clean our shit. I think 3 different people have had to clean the shit so far.
Hey, the way that I put it down, shout out to Sanji, you know what I'm saying? If they keep on cooking it and brewing it, I'm going to keep on consuming it. Yes, sir.
Predictions for the future, Eggy. Now, I assume everything we've said so far in this podcast did not actually happen, because I'm going to ask, who do we think is going to join as the ship's doctor? Could it be Dr. Kureha's joining the crew, Eggy? That's the only doctor left on this island.
Well, I would have to go back on my thoughts of she seemed like a quack to me, but
maybe somebody else will have to join.
Well, I could also see that maybe she's only using a fraction of her real knowledge just to like maximize her own benefit while also minimizing what she actually has to do. So let's say if she does really have this ability, maybe the avalanche will actually be good, because maybe it'll give a bit of a pause to everything else. It's going to be able to kind of put everything on hold. Maybe it'll even block her travel to the next town. Maybe she's going to get caught off guard, and the road's going to get cut off by this avalanche. She's going to be there. They're going to be able to make this contact within a decent amount of time.
Well, hypothetically, we've seen an image of what looks like flight with the sleigh flying down the mountain. Can't she just fly over this shit? How the fuck are they doing that?
Well, I feel like that was like, oh, that's what they thought happens, but does it really happen? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We just saw an image.
It does seem awfully difficult to get up and down this mountain, so I suppose that would make sense. So I'm going to just, with an assumption, let me run this back one time. Okay, so he really has the powers. The avalanche, I guess maybe it's not going to stop her, but it's going to put a cease on at least the other things that are currently going on. It's going to be able to direct us, like, so maybe it's not she's getting blocked off, maybe somebody's getting blocked. It's just going to kind of put things at a standstill for a moment. They're going to be able to either she's going to be like flying back up on Chopper, maybe they'll make contact with her there, some contact being made, some healing being made to Nami, or at least she's going to be able to begin her treatment, and then maybe at that point the avalanche is kind of whatever standstill starting to dissipate, things are starting to get back to moving around, and maybe at that point they'll have enough of the crew freed up to then do combat with Wapo. And he seemed very easy to combat originally, but maybe he's going to have a new trick up his sleeve now that he's on dry land. He's back in his kingdom. He knows the lay of the land. He has some home turf advantage here. Maybe he's going to be able to have something with him, or if not, they're just going to knock him out again. Get Dalton hopefully nursed back to health. Maybe
get Nami
somehow
nursed back to health,
or if not, I'm just going to presume they're going to have to, because who's going to take over? If they get Wapol and his henchmen taken out, they're going to need somebody to lead, and I don't think we have necessarily a great leader implied right now.
Dr. Kureha can't be the new mayor? The quack doctor who robs everybody?
I feel like another revolt would be on the way if she comes in. So let's just say, and Dalton's going to get healed up. We're going to get Wapol and his top brass all out of the picture, and they're going to be able to start heading on towards Alabaster, because we don't have very much time with Alabaster that we need to be getting there sooner than later. So I don't think we're going to be sticking around at Drum Island too particularly much. So that's my prediction. We're going to be making contact with Dr. Kuriha. Some kind of treatment is going to at least begin, or the process of it is going to begin. We're going to be able to then direct attention back to the conflict with Wapol, get that handled, and get out of here. That's my prediction, volume 16. Let's go.
Well, stay tuned for next week, folks, for the best part of your week, volume 16 of the One Piece Virgin Book Club, blah, blah, blah. Hey, speaking of which, this morning, the One Piece Virgin podcast that we talk shit about, they released a new episode about the newest chapters, and that chick I don't like is not there because she's not caught up. So I'm going to actually go listen to the show that we've been shitting on, because it sounds like it might be a decent episode. So
well, you'll have to relay back to me if that improves the quality whatsoever.
It certainly will. It cannot be any worse without her. So bye, everybody. See you next week.
Oh, peace.